My name is Paris Gray, working hard to be your favorite Paris. And let me ask you a question. If life threw the unexpected at you tomorrow, would your insurance coverage show up the way you need it to? We're going to jump right into that. But again, I'm Paris Gray, working hard to be your favorite Paris and your favorite insurance advocate. I am local here in Texas, but don't let that stop you because we service many states all over the world. And today I am going to go over my Paris method because a lot of people have life insurance, 50% don't have life insurance. But between the two groups, a lot of folks don't know if they have enough insurance or the right insurance. That's why I came up with the Paris method so that you can figure out your magic number and then we can work together to close that gap. Sounds like fun to me, right? Okay. So a lot of times, folks think that when we talk about life insurance, we are only talking about final expense. I've explained in other videos, please feel free to check those out, that final expense is actually just for your final expense. Life insurance is so much bigger than that. That's why this question just says coverage, because there are so many different products that we can use to make sure that you are taken care of, not only when you pass away but when you live. My great granny lived until she was 99. Might as well say 100 because it was right before her 100th birthday. She used to always tell us that, I don't know, baby, if I keep living, I'm not going to be able to afford to keep living. And I used to laugh like, Granny, cut it out. What are you talking about? And it really didn't sink in. I wasn't really an adult then. So I didn't understand that she was saying, like, nobody cares that I'm 99. The bills are still due every month where I live. So I'm going to run out of money soon. And a lot of times people don't think about that. It's not just for when you pass away. Let's plan like we're going to live until 100 years old. It's 2025 right now, and I don't know about you, but the dollars do not come as fast as I see them coming in my dreams, and everything is super, super expensive. So I have some examples to go over. We're going to talk about insurance. I go into much more detail on my other videos about the difference between whole life insurance and term life insurance. We've talked about how IULs play a part, annuities, and different things like that, and how cancer coverage and stroke coverage is different. I really won't go into those details of definitions here, but we definitely can talk about that one on one. And also, if you've seen my Excel sheet before, I might pull it up, not quite sure how things will go on this video. But if you have any questions, if you want anything emailed to you, if you would like to kind of do this on your own, just shoot me a message and I'll be happy to do that. Sometimes I can't always see my screen, but please drop some questions, say hello in the comments. I always check them later and circle back around and make sure that I say hello. Also, my system keeps like going out. I'm going to act like I can't see it, but if anything is weird on that end, or if you're like, why is she pausing like that? I might not be able to see myself to make sure that you can see me. So we're just going to push through because we've got great information to go through. So, Paris, what is this Paris method that you keep talking about? Can we get a visual? Yes, you may. I'm going to pull it up right here. And we'll start here. And then today, I actually made some examples to go through to see how we can calculate this versus the Excel sheet that I've brought up before. So the method, got to get my words together. Sorry about that. The Paris method. How much life insurance do you need? So we start with the P, protect your income. Remember, we are planning until the age of 100. So right now, If you died unexpectedly, think about who depends on your income. I often use the example of my daughter Janelle. If I was gone today, I would want to leave her 10 years worth of my salary. So you take your salary, take your dream salary if you really want to dream big, and you want to multiply that by how many years you want to leave your loved ones. If you don't have any children, think about your parents or siblings or whoever will be burying you, and you want to leave that income for them. This is also when I talk about your own personal income while you live until 100. You, no matter what age you are right now, I'll be 40 this year. You can go on SSA.gov and you can already see what your Social Security retirement benefit will be. You know, if you're 40 like me, I wouldn't put all our eggs in that basket. Even our seniors can't put all their eggs in that basket. But think about if you are 40 now. We've got about 25 years before we start thinking about Medicare and drawing our social security, but you can already see how much that's going to be. And chances are, I've looked at mine and I'm going to want to supplement my income. I can start planning for that now. That's how I want to protect my income. Also, I've given the example of myself when I lost my career. During that transition, I was able to take a tax free loan from myself and protect my income to get me to today. So that's what P is all about. So, right now, if you are jotting things down or starting to think about the Paris method, again, if you want an Excel version or a worksheet, I can email that to you. But go ahead and put your income and how many years you would like to leave if something happened to you or if you didn't have your same income today. You just take a second, jot that down. And also remember, it doesn't have to be like, oh my goodness, Paris, I only make 30K right now. I'm really hoping to get this job that's 100K. Plant meet in the middle, or you don't have to be realistic. We're coming up with your dreams. We're planning for our dream life. If you are eyeballing a career that it's about 120,000, who put it down? If that is your plan, we're working towards our magic number. So we are dreaming when we are working on that. See, it's not, we haven't even got to talking about death yet, you know? So remember, I heard someone say it's not all about YOLO, you only live once, it's you only die once. So let's talk more about what things look like while we're living. All right, so that's P, protect our income. Then we'll move right on over to A. You're going to add up your debt. So think of your cost of living right now. That's something to think about for debts. I have one. If you search through my videos, we went over what you're actually still responsible for even after you pass away. Like we talked about what will go to probate, what won't go to probate. A lot of times people think just the rich go to probate, and that's not true. Also, think about homes. If you already own a home that you want to stay in the family, you know what it's like to keep up a home. So you want to make sure you leave proper funding for that if that's something that you want to ensure sticks around. Also, think about your children, your godchildren, nieces, nephews, anybody that you would want to help buy a home. Do you want to do that? You want to go ahead and add that there. Any debt, anything that you want to make sure is paid for debt wise, whether you're able to work here or not here, you would put it there. For remember, final expense, this is where we talk about your final wishes. If you find yourself, if you've ever been told that you were uninsurable. Let's talk about how long ago that was and for what reasons. I have different coverage. That's really what final expense is for. It's not like the whole life insurance that we're talking about, where it will leave a legacy or anything like that, but we can make sure that the bill of your final expense isn't a burden. I did a video today. A lady was saying that when her dad passed away, he didn't have any policies. She had three siblings who didn't really help her. She had to put the funeral on five different credit cards, ended up defaulting. She still owes the funeral home $2,000, and it just was a complete nightmare. Right after that, someone else made a comment, and their parents, they're older, I'm sure, their parents had paid for their policies back in 1977. She only had to add $9 to the pot, and her mom and dad actually died very close behind one another. So you can see two different extremes, two different versions, two different options, all based on the choices that those individuals made a long time ago. So I recommend, if you haven't thought about this at all, or if you haven't seen funeral prices recently, I say start at 15K. Why, Paris? I hear you asking me. Why Paris? Well, because I talk about one of my clients, her husband's obituary in the newspaper was $800. Some folks may say that's ridiculous. Of course, it's based on how long you want it to run, how long it is, all of that. But I say, I think a lot of times when we're saying that certain memorial things are a waste of money, it's because we're living in a scarcity mindset. We're thinking about scarcity. If this individual had been a teacher in the community, I mean, had a rich history, I feel like every day that we live is great history, and that should be memorialized. Now there are some things that are kind of like cream of the crop, not necessary for if you are just to lay someone to rest, but you should be able to do it the way you want. And I say do at least 15K. Just cremation with the viewing alone, you actually are getting a deal if you walk away for 7K. So keep that in mind. Even if you don't have children, even if you don't have a maid, someone is going to bury you, and that comes with a cost. So you want to keep that in mind. I really hope you guys can't tell how my screen is going in and out, but we're going to just keep pushing on through. I think it might have a short in it. All right, so then we have that. Then we get into my favorite part is include dreams and legacy. Now, this is where all the other stuff, that is what we call adulting, taking care of our business. Here is include dreams and legacy. This is where we really start to think about what it's like for us to live until the age of 100. I always talk about like when the experiences pop up, when people are going places and doing things, I don't want money to be a reason that I can't go. So I'm going to include in my dreams and legacy, I would include a travel budget here. We're just talking for me. Think about my years. Let's start thinking at the age of 70. We are just going to plan to have some type of income coming in that is just for travel. Also, there are so many different nonprofit charities, GoFundMe's, crowdfunding, investments, all these different type of things that I would want to invest in something like that if I had the opportunity to do that. So this is where I'm going to set aside something so that I could just donate to charities whenever that is something that comes up or available for me. So that's when you go crazy with that. And then the last one, after you've added all of that, you're going to subtract your savings. This is the only time that yes, work insurance is something that would count here. So a lot of times you think that the life insurance that you have through an employer is enough, but really that's term. So if you separate from that employer for any reason, that life insurance is gone away, but it's not nothing. So we still want to account for it. And that's where you would put it here. You would put it in to subtract your savings. So that's kind of how you run through the Paris acronym. You make that make sense for yourself. If you already have life insurance, every year, yes, every year, when you're doing open enrollment for your health insurance, take a look at your life insurance. Make sure you're still getting mail, You're updating things. I write for carriers that I believe are going to be here long, 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 long after my grandkids are gone. But sometimes we've seen in the past where companies, I've ran into helping people navigate their policies being sold or different things like that. So every year, make sure that you're looking and taking account of what you have and making sure that we're working on filling these gaps. If you've gotten a quote before and it was too expensive, because when we look at the value, what's expensive, let's look at it again. Maybe there was something else trying to happen. Okay, deal. While I'm bringing this, let me show. I want to show, if I can, the way my screen is cutting up. I'm going to show calculator, the calculator that we use. And then I'm going to show the calculator that I was talking about, and then I will bring up another example for us to talk through so you can really just see how the Paris acronym works in different scenarios and how you really just make this your own. Right, it's in and doing its thing. Let me clear these out. Last time I was deleting things and messed up my formulas, so I want to make sure I'm not doing that. One moment. All right, here we go. So this is what I am. Let me add it to the stage. And all right, I'm going to move this so that I can see it better because that screen over there is cutting up. All right, and then just so you can, if you want to keep this, I want to put that there. But okay, so here for protect your income, that's when we were talking about where you would put in your annual income. So, like I said, whatever you want to put, we can start with 80,000. You put it in there. Um, and then we wanted to do 10 years. We put it there. You see, it starts to calculate. And then as you add each thing in, it will calculate what you want to happen. Yeah, so you and then you just save it, you can update it, you can add tabs to this, copy and paste and do your review straight from here every year. I would walk through this with you. I would get an idea of what you have, help you do the subtract, tell you about different products that were available, and then we would go from there. All right. So I won't go through that in big detail because I want to show some other examples, but I wanted to make sure you saw that in case you needed to, if you wanted to do it by yourself first and kind of get a feel for, what is Paris talking about when she says this? Okay, let's bring up this first example. And while we're talking about it, I want to remind you not to remember it's not about the money. It's it's our way of saying that you when I can't show up the way I want to show up, I plan so that I still will show up. So here, that's why I put that. that here. And you'll also see I don't really often on live. I will sometimes, especially when we're talking about um, babies, newborn babies, because they are able to get life insurance as early as 15 days old. But I don't talk a lot about the price of life insurance when I'm doing videos because I don't want us to get stuck there. And most of the time, people think that life insurance is three times the amount it actually is. I even find myself before I check a quote, I'll guess the amount. And normally I'm like double how much it actually is. So I've gotten my brain trained a little bit not to be 3 times as high, but definitely I still get, to double. And here, when I'm going through the PARIS acronym, we are planning till the age of 100. So we aren't thinking about, um we're not really thinking about the cost right now. We're thinking about money not being an issue because this is our goal plan. This is our magic number. After we get the magic number, then we start to work on what we can do to start, what we already have, the S. That's when we start to subtract. So here, let's put it into the divorce professionals rebuilding. So very often I'm here in Texas, well, everywhere. There's a lot of real estate agents. I guess I say Texas or like Atlanta or places like that are growing really fast. So you start to see more real estate agents there. And it's very important to think about this when you know different people in different careers in your life or even for yourself because things change, careers change. Some folks go from salary to contract, and that makes a difference in their benefits. That is why I talk often about how important it is to make sure that you have life insurance outside of your employer. So, the divorce professional here, real estate, she's 46. Why she needs coverage, rebuilding life and assets. She's raising two teenagers. She wants to make sure her progress is not lost. So you can see right there, she is planning for her income to be 90K. She has the two teenagers, so she's going to multiply that by six. You'll see that. Then for her add debts, you can see she's adding her remaining mortgage there. She went for 12,000 here. I believe this example they already had like applied. They already had part of their final expense covered, so that's why we took away a little bit of that there. And she has some other assets that you can see. Then include dreams and legacy. She did 40K for each team. This is a rebuild, so she kept it really kind of like our first goal. We didn't really go to all the way to planning towards 100. It's really just making sure she has her kids set for the near future, and she has some savings in retirement and stocks about 40K depending on, I can't remember in this, but when you go to subtract your retirements and stocks, I sometimes really look at what vehicle you're using for those because that will some of that you might have to tap into sooner. So depending on your age, she's 46. I'm going to figure out like her plan in case she runs into critical illness. Long term, we'll start talking to all of that to see w- to make sure if that retirement stocks really needs to be included in subtracting this as life insurance or if that needs to be slotted or labeled as kind of like her aging fund. So, like I said, we come up with the perfect number and then you go from there. Let me remove this. I want to bring up a couple of other ones, and then I will. Okay, retired grandmother. So this would be the last one I kind of go over, and then we'll get into some more detail on the next one. But so a lot of times my mom asked me, and this is one reason why I wanted to kind of make this example because after you get to a certain age, you do run out of time to be able to buy insurance. So you can become uninsurable due to health reasons, accidents, things like that, but you can age out. Most products, the last product you can buy is at age 85, and they all mostly have some type of underwriting. So you want to be mindful of that. But this is the grandmother, 68, retired. She doesn't want her family burdened with final expenses. She wants to leave a little bit of legacy. So we're not protecting her income because she's using her retirement and doing that. No debt, which is so important, especially if you're in the sandwich generation. Get rid of your parents' and grandparents' debt. Um, like I said, for the final expense, we have 15K set to the side. Include dreams and legacy. She has 3 grandkids, so she wants to leave each of them 10K, and then she has 5K in savings. She is 68, so the we're not going to. I'm going to count on those savings to be part of her livelihood to depend on how long she lives. But this is another example of how you would come up with your magic number. So just to go over it again to wrap it up, let me see here. We have P is for protect your income, A is for add up your debts, R is for remember final expense, I is include dreams and legacy, and S you subtract everything you already have to get your magic number. Um, I want you to save this video, save this so that you can do these numbers and come up with this together. If you have questions or need help, that is what I'm here for. That is what I do every day. It's free to talk to me. You might as well do it. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for dreaming with me. I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Again, please leave me some comments so I'll let you so that I know you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye bye for now.